And away we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you happen to be doing. It is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in middle of nowhere, Georgia, corner of middle and nowhere. Double secret location on double secret probation. Unnamed kitten. Don't know who this is. Sits on me all day. And Dusty in the background. I see Helter is here. I see Delo is here. Dragon. Cougar. Preparedness veteran is here. Bingo, as people are starting to funnel in. R130. And Delo says hello. As I try to read off as many comments as I can for those of you who are listening and not able to watch, so that you can follow along and see what's going on as we get into Coffee Talk Live, taking a look at some of the things that are in the news today. There is cruising. Says enjoying another day off from the hurricane. Oh, that's right. A lot of things closing down in Florida, correct? As the storms whip up, they use lasers to do that. I hear they use lasers now to interfere with storm clouds. There was a news story about that like 9-10 years ago, actually. And Bams says Snake Plissken looks well. Well, that's Dusty sitting in the chair behind me, for those of you who can see. And I've got this one sitting on my lap. This is the one that licks my head in the middle of the night. And the other two are asleep in the living room. And the baby, or baby mama, the mother, is in the kitchen and basically stays in the kitchen. Hello. Freedom for all. Freedom for all is here. Urban Angst is here. Says, made it. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon, or whatever time it happens to be, wherever you are, as we get ready to take a look at some of the things that are popping up in the news. And I try not to get too distracted by the kittens, or this one in particular, who seems to really, really want my attention. Hi, I'm not ignoring you. I've just got something to do. So I see Ali is there. Yeah. Cruising says friendly cat is a good cat. Just as long as he doesn't step on the keyboard, I'll be all right. And there is Dee Dee has joined us today. We get ready to start opening up some of the things that are popping up into the news today. And here is the big drop news story from 1945 that I'm going to open up here in a minute. And it has a poll in it. And you already know that if there is a poll, I'm going to wreck it, because polls are lies. Polls are deceptive. Whenever they do a poll, keep in mind they didn't call you. They didn't call you for a reason. Dee Dee Allen is here. Thanks for joining us today. And Mr. Shawnee Mommy made a $5 donation to the channel. Thank you very much. Goes a long way to helping us take care of them. As for those of you who are new to this, we have our own sort of cat shelter going. We take care of a lot of strays, a lot of abandoned animals. And this kitten right here, unnamed kitten, is one of 3 with the mother. And the mother's fixed. The mother is fixed. It looks like it's not too long since she was weaning the kittens off, because her teats are still protruded. So and also if they are nursing, they won't neuter. They won't spay. They won't spay the cat if it's nursing. So she had to have stopped nursing, and then I guess they didn't want the cats anymore. It must have been overwhelming having 4 of them. But whatever, it's incredible. Urban says, even when surveys call me, I don't answer, don't want to be used for a statistical narrative making. They'd probably disconnect you anyways. Oh, I'm sorry, the survey is full, or you're not suitable, is what they tell you when it doesn't sound like you're going to give the answer that they want. And this article, again, is from 1945. There's Monkey. Thanks for joining us today, Monkey, as we delve into this. It says, big drop. Donald Trump just got hit with a devastating new poll. Everything's devastating. Everything is going to wreck the internet or destroy the internet now. I get really sick and tired of that type of phrasing. And you see here, we'll just go ahead and read a little bit of this because I don't even care what the poll is. I'm going to pick it apart here in like 10 seconds flat. The former president's refusal to participate in the first Republican Party debate also gave the spotlight to many of the other candidates running against Trump, notably DeSantis and Ramaswamy. No, he didn't want to participate because only 2 or 3 of those people are really going to make it. So why bother? Quite frankly, with all there's low hitters on there that know they're not going anywhere. Where are we? Plus, Trump's recent legal woes are only just starting, and the president faces a staggering combined 91 charges across 4 different legal cases. Trump may have already peaked, despite his braggadocio. That can only mean one thing, or that can mean only one thing. The former president might have a polling problem. I bet he will. It all depends on who you ask and how you ask. And we'll just jump here. A recent Emerson College poll conducted after the first GOP debate found Trump support among likely Republican voters slips by 6 points. While the 45th president remains at 50% support, this could be just the beginning of something devastating. All right. Now, without reading all the rest of the fluff, because you see how long this article is for those of you who are watching, I'm not going to read it all. It's pointless. It is absolutely pointless. There's only one thing I care about when I see poll statistics. How many people did you talk to? Because it's always a small demographic, and they cherry pick that demographic to get the results that they want. There's a science to it. They've been doing it this way for decades. And now that they use computers, it's even easier to narrow that focus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go directly to the polling service, and I'm going to pull this up for you so that you can see it. Okay. Let me close this screen. I'll close this screen and I'll open the other one. We're going to go right to the polling service, and we're going to find out how many people they actually spoke to. And I bet it's going to be like 1,000 or less. That's my prediction. So let's go ahead and get this open. Any second now. Come on. Here we go. This is from the college. Conducted August 25th and 26th, found 50% of GOP primary voters said that they plan to vote for Donald Trump, down from 56% in a pre-debate poll. All right. So let's get down here to these are the statistics. I don't care. I want to see how many people they talk to. It's got to be in here somewhere. As I flip through, I'm looking for it. Here it is. The poll surveyed 1,000 registered voters and has a margin of error of 3 percentage points. So they only talked to 1,000 people. And that's supposed to represent the entire U.S. population of registered voters. That's how it works. Cruising says, I don't like that Trump didn't debate, but watching the debate, I think we learned way more about the participants than we would have if he was there. They would have all just focused on Trump stuff. Good point. But when you're a big ticket and you know it, those smaller debates at the very beginning, it's almost a waste of time sometimes. You know, John says, cat fan in the house. Thanks for the news, Dave. I'm trying. And we got 2 in here keeping me company right now. One is laying on the table. You can just barely see him there. And then Dusty, that's one of the new kittens. And then Dusty is sitting behind me. You'll see him better when I open this up. Monkey says the more the justice system throws at Trump, the more it's just going to get him more popular in the end. Typically, if you got something from the judicial system, your shot of running for president is gone. Yeah, they're trying to embarrass him, but the more they do it, the more people are liking him because they figure, oh, if the government doesn't like you, you must be doing something right. That's kind of the attitude. And let's see if I can get this open. Come on. It's acting wonky again today. I think YouTube does that to me. Makes it so I can't click this stuff and open it up. And it slows down the whole process when that happens. That's very, very frustrating. But yeah, they spoke to less than 1,000 people, and we're supposed to trust that. we're supposed to trust those numbers versus how many millions of people, hundreds of millions of people in the United States, give or take 360, damn near 400 million people if you count all the illegals. And how many of those are of voting age above the, or at least over 18? And 1,000 people speak for all of them. And then you have the nerve to have a 3% margin for error. I mean, serious. How much is that? And RL, or is it RL30 or R130, made a is that a euro donation? €5 donation to the channel. Thank you very much. Again, all donations primarily go to the care and support of the strays that we take care of. And we got a lot right now. We just rehomed 2. We still got 5 living in the back, 4 in the house, and then 4 more, so 8 in the house. I got rid of 2 and I got 4. That's how it works. But thank you very much, R130. Very much appreciated. Helter says polling has become a disaster. Polls don't use a scientific approach. Many people give the pollsters false answers in order to mess with them. That's true too. That is true also, especially if it's like you're doing the poll for like Amazon credits and things like that, because they have that. They'll lie to make sure they don't get booted and give the results that the poll is kind of looking for. Where are we here? JD says, hey, don't tell you how they pick those 1,000 registered voters or the exact wording of the questions they asked. Yeah, and that's kind of my point, because they can cherry pick that. If you don't, if you are, if it seems like, and you're doing this on the computer, especially now, that's why it's easier now than when I worked for a polling service in the 90s. If you start giving answers that are leaning in a direction they don't want you to go in, they'll just disconnect you, or they'll tell you, oh, sorry, the poll's full, you missed it. Thank you for your time, and brush you off. So you got to be really careful with that. And RL30 says, yeah, RL, yes, Euro, I'm German. Okay. Oh, I got something about Germany coming up here in a minute, actually, in the news. And JD says on an episode of Penn and Teller's BS, the pollster Frank Luntz explained from the way he worded the questions he asks, he can get the answer he wants. And Chris says, I've never been polled. Yeah, most people haven't. And Dragon says, modern polling is propaganda. They're not measuring how people feel. They're telling people what to feel. And Preparedness says many polls are written by universities too. Yeah, and that poll came from a university. As we move on here, we're going to move on to something really stupid from Chicago. Really stupid from Chicago. Are you surprised there's something stupid going on in Chicago? I doubt it. Urban says there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. That's Mark Twain, of course. And Bob67 is here. He says, good evening, all. This is something, again, about Chicago. And this actually comes directly from the city desk. This comes from the mayor's press office. And it'll show you how stupid things are going there. Chris says Biden now wants to ban ceiling fans in addition to gas stoves, incandescent light bulbs, washing machines, and more. He won't miss any of those things because they will not be taken from him. And that's all ridiculous. You're telling industry what it can and cannot do. This is from the desk, again, from the city of Chicago. And Fluke Man says, sorry to change the subject. Any update on the silver coin sent to you? No, I haven't decided. And actually, it's still sitting here, and that's Money Metals Exchange sent me an actual silver coin and asked me to endorse it. And I'm wondering if that's a good idea, because I imagine they'll give me some kind of code that I can pass on. What do you guys think about that? I'll take a poll right now. Do you think that's a good idea for me to endorse that? I usually get stuff like that through Penny University or Prepper University. It used to be called Penny. I keep saying that though. And it's usually a flash, like an $80, $90 flashlight or something stupid. And I don't want to endorse it because I wouldn't pay for something like that. But a properly priced silver coin I would buy, because we have stacked silver in the past, my wife and I. So, I mean, I'll endorse them if I can if it looks like the prices are fair and I can pass the code on to people who might want it. And Cruising says, if you think it's legit. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Because I don't want to tell people to get it and it turns out to be a load of crap. Urban says, poll question, how many people want to take the poll? Nobody. And Fluke says, make sure it's real silver. Yeah, no kidding. And Chris says, Democrats in New York City and Chicago care more about the illegals than the impoverished communities. And Shawnee Mommy says, take the endorsement if it's a good company. Yeah. And Bam says, you're worth at least silver coins, 30 silver coins. Thanks. But anyway, again, this is right from the city desk. And I love how they have the C virus vaccine banner on the top of this. This is the city desk mayor's press office from the city of Chicago. Okay, that's where I'm linked into right here. And they have the C virus. It says vaccines are safe and effective and an important tool for ending the global pandemic. It's coming again, guys. Watch out. City of Chicago, and this is dated actually the 24th, files suit against automakers Kia and Hyundai. A critical defect in the company's vehicles lead to a car theft crisis. Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson announced today the city has filed a lawsuit against Kia America, Kia Corporation, Hyundai Motor America, and Hyundai Motor Company for their failure to include industry standard engine immobilizers in multiple models of their vehicles, resulting in a steep rise in vehicle thefts, reckless driving, property damage, and a wide array of related violent crimes in Chicago. Without even reading all his legal jargon in here, and that's why I told you you can find this yourself at the mayor's press office in Chicago. This is how backwards this is. First of all, the car thefts that are taking place in the city of Chicago, look it up, are primarily carjackings. There's a lot of daylight armed robberies, including a news crew that was talking about daylight armed robberies and armed carjackings, was themselves robbed while filming by 3 armed men who jumped out of 2 vehicles and at gunpoint went through their van, stole their camera equipment, their wallets, and their cell phones. They always take the cell phones so that you can't call for help right away. The certain, I guess, he's trying to sue Kia and Hyundai, saying it's their faults that these robberies are taking place because they don't have something on the engine that will cause it to seize if you call in that it's stolen. You're suing the automakers because crime in your city is so out of control that there's record numbers of carjackings going on. Where's the logic there? That's like suing or taking to court and suing and jailing a mugging victim for having not taken self-defense classes. I mean, seriously, that is absolutely insane. That is absolutely insane. I'll catch up on some of these comments. And again, if you are new to the channel or if you're listening and not watching, this is Coffee Talk at Coffee Talk Live on YouTube and mirroring also on Prepper University on YouTube. And if you are new watching and you want to find me on podcasting, it's fistfulofradio.com. Fistfulofradio.com out of Atlanta, Monday through Thursday at 4 and Friday at noon. And I'll catch up some of these comments here. Monkey says, try researching the website that's trying to make you sponsor and see if they're legitimate. Yeah, we're back to that. And Prime Mover says, silver is at $24.67 per troy ounce. Find out how much above spot they want. And Bam says, I would not endorse a small dealer. And Chris says, I like how China flu has magically reappeared just in time for elections. Yeah, get ready for it. And Preparedness says the C virus banner says it all. Yeah. And Chris says, instead of blaming the criminal doing the car theft. Exactly. And Preparedness says, I would have thought a recall would have been made. Well, I mean, it's not standard. It's not a requirement. And he's suing them for something that isn't a requirement, that they have a system to lock your engines, because a lot of new cars have that now, but it's something that law enforcement can use against anybody, not just someone who stole a car. And people only steal cars to either steal parts or go joyriding at this point, because you can't sell a stolen car anymore, not for decades. It really doesn't it doesn't work anymore. And Mingo says, are they going to pay you? If not, hold out for a company that will. Your time is valuable. Don't jump in bed with the first company. I think it's a good idea to endorse a precious metals company but get paid. I totally understand what you mean, Bingo. And Helter says, that's like blaming the house builder for cockroaches feasting in your pantry that you never clean or sanitize, instead of calling pest control to deal with the real or the root problem. That's insanity. And Chris says, not sure which city is crappier, Chicago or San Francisco or New York. And John says, city of Chicago is lost to commies. And Urban says, pro-migrant activists in Chicago should also sue Kia and Hyundai for making their cars too hard to break into, which denies homeless people a place to sleep. Yeah. And Dragon says, Hyundai is simply going to say that immobilizers are not required by law, and local PDs should be doing more to prosecute carjackers. Yeah, discourage it. Cruising says, forget suing the automaker, make car theft a hanging offense at any age, just like horse thieving in the old days. That would slow it down. No one will do that, though. Let me see here as I catch up. Fluke Man says, mayor wants to sue a car company, so who's going to get the money? His money must be drying up because people and companies are leaving the city. Yeah, because the people who are being victimized aren't going to get that money. And that's absolutely the point. They're not going to see a dime of that. Whenever the city sues somebody, it does not benefit the people. It does not benefit the people. Now, this is another one that's a huge pet peeve of mine. And I think this is also in Chicago. This is also in Chicago. And CBS Chicago is one showing this. This is something I bring up a lot because I have issues. Big pet peeve. You know, I've got a few chips on my shoulder. I'm sorry. Is people that are wrongfully imprisoned, especially when it goes on for extended periods of time, because people are wrongfully imprisoned all the time. Even if you're just sitting in jail waiting to be released or waiting for your court date to be found innocent, you didn't get bail or you couldn't afford bail and you sat in jail for 6 months or a year, you were still wrongfully imprisoned. But they don't usually put it into a news story unless it's something massive. And this is massive. This is 3 decades we're talking about. And Johnny Future has joined us. Thanks for joining us, Johnny. 3 decades this guy sat in jail. Wrongfully convicted Francisco Benitez released after 3 decades in prison. Chicago, wrongfully convicted man left the Cook County Jail Thursday after 34 years behind bars. 34 years. Francisco Benitez, if I'm pronouncing that right, 52, claims Chicago police framed him. It happens. On Tuesday, his murder conviction was tossed out by a judge. Let me see. Benitez's family showed up for a court hearing, and as you can imagine, they were elated after hearing the judge say he could go back home to his family. There were a lot of hugs and a lot of tears. He will be released on a no-cash bond with a few conditions, such as wearing a monitoring device. They're going to tag him. They're going to tag the guy. Where's he? What's he going to do? Where's he going to go? Seriously. Oh, my God. When he was 18, he was convicted of the 1989 murder of 2 teenagers, but has said he was innocent all these years. A hearing was held in April, and evidence was presented supporting his exoneration. 2 eyewitnesses now say they saw who actually committed the murders, and it wasn't Benitez. He said he was framed by CPD detectives who worked out of Area 5. Still, and they have a picture of him. They had a picture of him earlier. It disappeared. But anyways, yeah, that happens all the time. Most of the people that are in jail for a reason, but a lot of people end up in there that didn't do anything. And apparently this is one of them. Most of the time, they're not in there this long. This guy ended up in there for 34 years. And there was probably evidence of his being innocent, but they wouldn't hear it. And that happens too, where you can't get a judge to say, okay, I'll retry the case or I'll listen to the case. It's very difficult to get that kind of cooperation from the system. Furthermore, since it's now been established that he's been wrongfully convicted, he has the opportunity to turn and try to sue the city for wrongful conviction, which should be how much is it? 100,000 per year of incarceration. So he should be entitled to 3.4 million. And it varies from state to state, and some states don't even have this. I think Illinois is one that does. I could be wrong, but he'll have to sue for that, and then he'll have to countersue if and when it's awarded, because the city still won't pay him. It's going to be years in court if he even wants to bother. Cruising says, look, man, we can play loose and fast with definitions because you're an awesome guy, but that's abuse of the word few. Yeah. And Johnny says, innocent until they are still going to and they're still going to tag him. Yeah, sue their butts. Indeed. Someone will take the case for him, but he'll be dragging his ass in court for years. It's ridiculous. Urban says, any mention of an upcoming lawsuit for the wrongfully convicted man, how many millions would I ask for 34 years of my life? Like I said, I think in most states it caps at 100,000 per year. If it's been more than 10 years, it's wonky, and it differs from state to state. Fluke Man says, guess those cops needed a conviction for a promotion. Yeah, and when they get their teeth into somebody, they won't let go. Rodney says, I now understand why people don't often call it the injustice system. And we were watching, my wife loves watching the true drama documentaries that look at law enforcement. And we were watching one the other day. I forget which show it was. I'm sorry. And this guy, he came home and his wife had been raped and her throat was cut. And he called the police. And because he was angry on the phone, yelling at and fighting with the 911 operator, the detectives got their hooks into him. They were like, oh, he's got to be guilty because he's mad. You don't know why this guy's mad. Maybe that's his way of dealing with it. Okay. They tested her and she had semen, and the semen was not his. It was not a genetic match. They hassled this guy for almost 30 years. I think it was 28 or 29 years. They detectives dragging him in, interrogating him, hassling him, lawyers, blah, blah, blah. Okay. One day that DNA had a hit, and it was somebody else who was a convicted sex offender and violent criminal. And when they brought him in and interviewed him and they showed him the woman's picture, he confessed. He was like, I remember her. I'm a monster and you shouldn't have let me go in the first place. No, really? So they hassled that guy for damn near 30 years and he was innocent. But that's what they do. I've seen way too many stories like that. Helter says, I've heard of cases wherein exonerated convicts' criminal records are not expunged after they're released from jail. That can happen too, because you got to sue for that exoneration. Bam says it should be a minimum 100,000 a year. And Urban says 100,000 per year. It should be more after the first 10 years in jail, like $1 million per year at least. Yeah, well, they're lucky to get that. They're lucky to get damn bus fare with the way the system treats them. Preparedness says, sounds like America is turning into South Africa 2.0. And again, in many cases, in many countries, it's far worse. It can be far worse, believe it. And Fluke Man says, does he have to pay tax after getting the money for suing the city? That'd be a real kick in the nuts. You know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. He might be subjected to federal tax. I'm going to argue, since the city is paying it, they're not going to tax themselves. But it might be subjected to a federal. That's interesting. I would look that up. I might look that up later. Johnny says they will never ever apologize or admit they're wrong. Yeah, or if they apologize, it's going to be like this really hollow, empty apology, and you're not going to Why would you even want that? I don't even want an apology from these people. I don't want to hear it from the judge. I don't want to hear it from the detectives because they don't really care. They're going to have this "I was just doing my job" attitude. And so why would I want like a phony apology from you? Like it means something. Dragon says Benitez is going to have a hard time integrating into modern society. He missed all of the internet, cell phones. Well, it's going to be hard anyways. Even missing a year, you're in a daze. Being forced to adapt to that environment. And Urban says there's a series called Making a Murderer, which details the framing of Stephen Avery in Wisconsin. Okay. Now, back to this again, because we brought this up earlier, and it was because it was on the top of the screen on the mayor's page there. Mayor of Chicago's page. Here we go with the masks. Newsweek, mask mandates return, full list of places with restrictions in place. Yeah, we're getting to that. With C virus hospitalizations steadily increasing in the US, I don't know if that's true. This summer, some hospitals, schools, and businesses are reinstating mask mandates. The VA never took it down. They never took it down. Not here, anyway. 2 new C virus variants, EG5 and BA2.86, have recently emerged. I bet the WHO classified the former as a variant of interest earlier in August, but reported that its risk to global public health is low. If it's low, then why are you bothering us? The latter variant has only been reported in the US, the UK, Denmark, South Africa, and Israel as of August 23rd. That's enough, according to the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention. In a risk assessment summary, the CDC wrote that the BA286 may be more likely to infect people with existing immunity to C virus, either from vaccinations or prior infections, than previous variants. As the new variant of C virus spread, hospitals admissions are rising. There were at least 15,000 in the week ending of August 19th, but they remain a far cry from past peaks. Now, are people coming in and they're testing positive for it and they have something else wrong with them? Because hospitals have been doing that the entire time, tacking it on and acting like that's the main reason. And I had a video of the health official of the state of Illinois admitting to that, and it was taken down, and I was suspended for a week for showing it. And it was a newsreel of her admitting that that's what they were doing. During the height of the C virus pandemic, masks were widely used as a method of limiting the spread of the virus, especially before vaccinations were available, and mandates drew anti-mask protests in some places. While it is unlikely the country will see a return of widespread mask mandates anytime soon, some places are bringing back pandemic-era requirements temporarily in response to the recent spikes. Yeah, okay. All students and employees are required to wear face masks for 14 days from August 20th. President Dr. Kevin James said in a letter that was posted on social media, colleges, public schools, hospitals, the places where you saw it before. Because, yeah, we're trying to do this again. And I heard also that Germany is going back to all of that also. Is that correct? Somebody from Germany is in here. Maybe you can tell us. And that would be, who was it? RL30. RL30. Are they doing that in Germany? Because that's what I heard. Let me see. I'll catch up some of these comments here. Where are we? Bams says what 34 years in prison makes for your mental state. I can imagine. And Preparedness says this new strain BA286 is a subvariant of Omicron, a weak one at that. Urban says every medical study continues to show that wearing masks for prolonged periods of time is harmful, especially to young children, on account of bacteria and organisms. Correct. And JD says, how would they know these viruses are variants when they have never isolated the SARS, C virus, or any variant ever? Because they're laboratory grown. I probably shouldn't say that. Preparedness says, yes, underlying conditions will be impacted the most. Monkey says, not the mask crap again. Indeed. And Bam says, Kill Bill did promise that the next one is going to get attention. And Johnny says, if you're a government employee or government contractor, then get ready for it. And Rodney says, the new wave of C virus propaganda could be used as an excuse to force universal mail-in voting for 2024. And we all know how easily corrupted that process is. And Dragon says, do not comply with these ridiculous rules that obviously do nothing. The only way to stop their control is for all, or at least most of us, to resist the nonsense. But all or most of us didn't. And all or most of us were suspicious the first time. And all or most of us went along to get along because we didn't want to deal with it. We didn't want to deal with people hassling us. We didn't want to deal with the people that were bought in fighting with us in the supermarket. We didn't want to deal with the people at the bank telling us we had to leave. I'm sorry, we can't serve you. A lot of people just went along to get along. And preparedness says, yeah, here we go again. Doctors here will get a 5 to 10 pound bonus per shot. And I say pound because he is in the UK. And that's how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. They're winding you up for it again. You knew it was coming. They tried with the flu for years. Oh, you've got to get your flu shot. You got to get your flu shot. And all it does is make everybody sick. It don't work. I don't believe it works at all. I've never had one either. And everyone I've ever talked to that got one said it made them sick and that they still got the flu anyways. But that never really took off. It never worked. So this worked. This worked because they sure did tie up the whole country. Hell, they tied up half the world. Helter says, I can't see how forcing anyone to trust their health to a product, especially when it's a rushed product, is anything other than evil. Yeah, not tried, not proven. And Johnny says profits are low, so we got to bring it back. And yeah, we talked about that about a week ago because Pfizer lost a ton off of their stock options because people weren't getting the boosters anymore. They don't care. They gave up on it, or it was making them sick, or they realized it wasn't working, and so on and so on and so on. And Urban says, during the dark sea years, only one coffee shop in my small town allowed me to come in without a mask. Now they are the only ones I support for my morning coffee on the way to work. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Now, here's another one you saw coming. Speaking of predictability, here's another one we saw coming. And they say it's a bombshell. I don't think so. I don't believe it is. And this article is from something called the Net Worth, or the net worth of. Bombshell 2024 presidential twist! Exclamation point. Michelle Obama's potential run threatens to overshadow Biden and upend the entire election, which I've been speculating for weeks because we keep seeing Barack or Michelle in all these fluff pieces trying to make them look wholesome and great and fun and whatever. Oh, here's Obama's Hot 100 music list and stupid things that nobody cares about. Nobody cares about. John says, Big Mike, two people that no one likes, that nobody wants anything to do with, who failed us the first time around and left us with the Biden legacy because he's Obama 2.0. And of course, the only way she could run is if Biden doesn't or can't. That's the only way. So he would have to be out of the picture. He would have to secede, or something has to happen to him where he can't. All right. And the sad part is people will vote for her. The same reason why they voted for Biden. When I first heard about Kamala Harris, running with Biden for vice president. It was on an Atlanta radio station, a black station. And they said, the DJ was saying, and it's the truth, I don't like Biden. I don't trust him. I wasn't going to vote for him, but now I will because he's got an African American woman for vice president running with him. Nothing, knows nothing about her, doesn't like or trust the guy, but you're going to vote for him because the vice president is going to be a black woman. That is the wrong reason, and she is seriously unqualified. She's a disaster. That's a mistake. But there are people who will vote based entirely on that. They'll look at Michelle Obama. Oh, that's so progressive. She's a woman and black. They'll get my vote. And it's just going to keep getting worse because this is a regime. And Rodney made a $10 donation, New Zealand dollars. Rodney made it says, here's a few bucks for your feline companions. Thank you very much, Rodney. Very much appreciated. Need all the help I can get with the felines because we are overloaded. I love them though. I really do enjoy taking care of them. And Urban says, told you Michelle first, then Chelsea soon after. Gross. Absolutely gross. And Johnny says, would love to see Michelle and Hillary debate. Yeah, sit there and giggle and carry on. Loyal Tangi says she was Montel Williams' side chick. I remember that. You're talking about Kamala Harris. Yeah, that's what she did back in the day. And not just Montel Williams. It was a couple of famous people that she slummed around with and got passed around. But, whoa, you can't talk about that. You don't see that in the media. Preparedness says Kamala Harris equals streetwalker and Michelle Obama is a man. Well, there you go. Anyway, I'll just read a little bit of this. You already get the point. To me, this is not a bombshell. It says, according to recent reports, members of the left-wing party are urging the former first lady to consider running for president. Oh, please. You've been planning for this for 20 years. With a new poll, yeah, I want to see it, indicating that she could potentially outshine President Joe Biden in terms of support. A polished turd could outshine Joe Biden at this point. I could run the cats and they would win. A new poll. How many people did you interview? 300? 300 people down on 5 corners in downtown Atlanta. The speculation about Michelle Obama's potential presidential run was sparked by a recent poll that showed her leading the pack with 48% support, surpassing President Joe Biden, who garnered 36%. Do they tell you what this poll is or where you can find it? Because, again, I bet you they interviewed less than 1,000 people. And I'm looking through here, and I'm not seeing any credentials for who they polled. I don't see anything. So, yeah, they can't even be bothered to tell you who did the poll in that article. Unbelievable. Dragon says, I'm not surprised. She's a puppet who's just as incompetent as her predecessors. The presidency is a nepotistic business with a sprinkle of popularity contest whoring. And Prime says that's why voting should be a privilege, not a right. You should be a net taxpayer and be able to pass the same test that immigrants take to become a citizen. And JD says, I do think Michelle Obama is a lot more likable than Ugandan giant Kamala. And Preparedness says, who are they going to drag out of the woodwork next? Hillary? Yeah, she's already failed twice. And Urban says, what is the brand name of those open walking shoes in the ads of that article? I did not even notice. And Monkey says, if they really want to make the polls more accurate, they would have to ask at least 100 million people that are voting age and isn't taking the poll for shits and giggles. Yeah, because polls they're very, very misleading. Polls are very misleading. And Helta says she has said she would not run. Please. Oh, kind of like in what is it called? Shakespeare's Caesar. If you remember the name of the play exactly, Oh no, I don't want the mantle. I won't take it. Yeah, that's a ruse. Continuing on, in fact, it would not be wise, especially after what her husband did during this tenure. If she runs, she's going to make things worse. Yeah, she will make things worse, but people will still vote for her, and they'll push her through like they did with Biden. Because I still question whether or not that was legitimate. There are a lot of questions there, even though I have to be careful because we're not allowed to talk about it. We're not election deniers, is what they call it, and you can get in trouble for discussing that. You can get in trouble for discussing it, so I have to be careful. But there's too many questions. There's too many questions. Bob said Julius Caesar. Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't think of that. I read it like a million years ago. The when he's out in the public square and they're talking about the assassination or the potential for it, and they offer him the laurel and he won't take it. He won't take it, and that it's the same thing. It's the old bait and switch. Oh no, I don't want to run, but if you really need me to, indeed, because the truth be told, the best candidate for a high office is someone who doesn't want it but is qualified. I don't want to do this, but I need to do this. But you can fake that and pretend like that's what you're trying to do. Remember, most people are not that smart. And there are a lot of clever men and women who have learned how to manipulate that. Preparedness says, is anyone going to believe the result of the election winner? No doubt there'll be trouble ahead, indeed. And Urban says Michelle will be pushed forward just as Obama came in out of nowhere and took Hillary Clinton's win away from the Democratic nominee back then. Yeah, because he had no experience. He had zero. He was an alderman who became senator for what, like 2 months? And then suddenly he's being run for president, something like that. I might be like blurring the timelines there, but he was barely senator. Just he was groomed right through. And Fluke Man says 2020 proves election fraud is possible. How would they try to prevent it in future elections? And now it's freezing up again. Here we go. JD says all elections are fixed, from the selection of candidates, Trump included, to the brainwashing of the voting population. It's nothing more than the illusion of self-rule. Well, you know, I've talked about that many times, and I've made the comparison of love and logic parenting, the love and logic parenting model. And I'll run that over real quick for any of you who have not heard it before, hearing it for the first time. The love and logic parenting model is the idea of having a very young child that you give limited selections to. So, example, you have your little son, Jimmy, and you bring Jimmy in the room. It's time to get dressed for school. Oh, look, Jimmy, here's a red shirt, a blue shirt, and a yellow shirt. You pick one, and you're going to pick your clothes today. And Jimmy picks the red one, and you're like, okay, good job. You chose your clothes. No, Mama chose the clothes because she laid out three shirts or 3 outfits and told him to pick from them. The selection was already made. Here's 3 things I will tolerate Johnny wearing today, and I'll let him choose from amongst those. You control the selection process. And in many cases, elections are like an adult version of the love and logic parenting model, which works very well for young children, by the way. It works great. This I wanted to show because it came up yesterday, and some people were confused as to what we were talking about. And I don't know if the person who brought this up is here today or not. And this is from Hollywood Unlocked, but you can find this anywhere because this person is now famous. Transmogrified teacher who was put on paid leave over backlash for her big breasts, now teaching at new school. And you can see the picture, and you can't see the whole picture. This is not really a transmogrified person. This is a guy in a wig with a massive prosthetic bust that he puts on every morning and puts his clothes on over it. And as I understand it, They are double Z's, the biggest he could, biggest custom made fake breasts that he could get. And he was working in a public school, and this is in Canada, and people were pissed off. And it caused such a backlash that they put him on administrative leave. And apparently they didn't really, because they just kind of moved him around. Yeah, Monkey says, ew, indeed. The return of Canadian transmogrified teacher Kayla Lemieux to Nora France's Henderson Secondary School in Hamilton has sparked controversy among students and parents. Lemieux came under fire earlier this year when she was placed on leave at Oakville Trafalgar High following countless complaints from parents and students about her enormous prosthetic breasts. And to avoid any disruptions as she began her new job, the school is reportedly implementing increased security measures. So now the taxpayers have to foot security guards for this person so they can walk around looking like this around your junior high and high school age kids. Quote, they're telling parents they're taking safety precautions for the kids, but won't say anything about what the justification is for Lemieux to be back in the classroom, which is the root cause of the problem. One parent at Oakville Trafalgar High said, per the Daily Mail, the parents at Nora France's Henderson should be concerned about their children's safety. It says about their children's safe. That's just bad syntax. Lemieux, who formerly identified as a man and now identifies as a woman, is making her comeback with a bold statement. What, did she get bigger falsies? Because you can't even tell from this picture. They don't show the whole thing because it goes all the way down. It sags all the way down below the belt line. It's ridiculous. The last part of the article here. The school has taken proactive measures to ensure a smooth transition for Lemieux, Fox News adds, implementing a special entry and exit plans to address any potential disruptions or protests that may arise due to her gender expression. Students will be assigned specific doors for entry and dismissal. Exterior doors will be locked during school hours, and all visitors will be required to use an intercom system for entry. They already do that anyways. These precautions aim to protect the safety of everyone on campus while emphasizing the school's commitment to treating everyone with dignity and respect. You're not treating everyone with dignity and respect if the majority of the parents and students are protesting this, and you're forcing them to comply with it and providing extra security at the taxpayer's expense in order to force the issue. You know what I mean? Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Prime says, trust me, they're real. Indeed. Sure. Real silicone. Urban says that was me who brought up the Z Cup public school teacher in Canada. Thank you, Urban. I knew somebody said it. I couldn't remember who it was. Preparedness says, can't believe the parents haven't lynched him. Oh, indeed. Bam says the mega boob was allegedly penalized for toxic masculinity, so he changed the outfit. Urban says, if I'm not mistaken, misgendering Lemieux is now considered hate speech, whatever that even means. It's open-ended. It means whatever they say it means when you get to court. You have to be real careful with that. It's like Eastern Bloc Europe during the Cold War. Prime Mover says it's all about the soy milk. And Dilo says, wow, those are big water jugs. Indeed. JD says the only way we're going to get rid of these perverts and reprobates is with violence. They're not going to stop because you asked nicely. Well, they've been allowed to have a platform, and they're being praised for having that platform. So why would they stop? And Monkey says, what the F did the person even get an unrealistic cup size? They could have gotten at least a B or a D. Yeah. And reminds me of that one teacher with drippy breasts from South Park, not Garrison, the other teacher. I know who you're talking about. I've seen that. And when she would raise her chokes on dick, right? And she'd raise her hands up and they'd fall out from under her sweater. And Rodney said there is one silver lining to the transistor radio teacher. Finally, more people are pushing back against the madness. And it's hard to do that in Canada too, because Canada is almost like a almost like a totalitarian state now. Dragon says schools are concerned with catering to weird ideologies of one individual teacher who is causing disruption to the detriment of the students instead of educating the students. And Prime Mover confirms the name of the teacher from South Park there. And Helter says, if this was 30 years ago, the teacher would have lost all respect as soon as he hit the door. He would never have been able to control his class. He never would have made it to the school 30 years ago. And Monkey, if somebody, he would have been picked up. He would have been brought to for a 72-hour evaluation somewhere. Seriously. Monkey says, by the way, the resident in chief is speaking about the hurricane and wildfires in Maui live. Wow. And John says, I look forward to the day pedophiles can be hunted for sport. Oh my gosh. That'll be after the fall. And on that subject, we'll jump to California. I'll be curious to see how bad Sleepy Joe messes up that speech, because his last one, he couldn't even read the teleprompter, and his teleprompter is like the size of like a projection television. It's insane. This article comes from Fox News, the one I'm going to read next, and one more here from Helter. He says, a few of my friends think Kayla is punking the school board and basically calling them out and showing them how ridiculous their alphabet mafia policies are. That would be interesting if that turns out to be what it is, like that Korean cyclist who says that they're being trans on purpose to beat women at cycling events so he can showcase that it's unfair. And every time he wins a medal, he says, I don't really deserve this. I'm making a point like that. This is California. California school district settles with mother after school transitioned daughter without consent. So that is setting a precedence, because it's a settlement. And that's not good, really, because you have limitations on what you can say after a settlement. But the fact that the state settled out of court shows that they're afraid. It says, in what's been called a landmark victory for parents' rights, a California school district has settled for $100,000 with a mother who said her daughter was, quote, socially transitioned to a boy without parental knowledge or consent. Now, I've heard about this already, and there's an important point that'll be made very shortly here. It says, Jessica Cohen claimed her 11-year-old daughter, Alicia, was told by her school in the Spreckles Union School District in Monterey County, California, that she may be upset because she didn't know who she truly was inside. From there, the school allowed her to use the boys' bathroom, used male pronouns to refer to her, and was, quote, socially transitioned away from biological gender. Once Cohen found out her daughter was being identified as a male and socially transitioning without knowledge, she sued the district. Her daughter has since decided to re-identify as a girl, and the California single mother vowed to keep fighting for parental rights following the settlement. Quote, they need to understand their place, and they need to stay in their place. And school nowadays, they're awful. So I'm going to fight this fight and keep fighting the fight, Cohen told Fox News Digital. So she won. JD says, look at the name of the mother, Jessica Cohen. I wonder what tribe she belongs to. And Johnny says, maybe this will be the start parents need. That would be nice, because it does set a precedence. And again, unfortunately, she didn't follow through with the court. She settled, because when you settle, certain things that are part of the suit then end up with a gag order. This is why a lot of places would prefer to settle rather than go through court, because if you go through court, it all becomes public knowledge, because I'm sure it's a lot worse than what they said here. Basically, the school coerced the girl, made her feel obligated, and kids will do that. They'll go along with stuff like that, pretend and carry on. And the girl didn't even want this, because as soon as it stopped, she was like, no, I'm a girl, what the hell? And the mother was in a position to be able to sue the school, because the school should not be interfering with children in this manner. And it's been going on. And Johnny says, yeah, it means you can't talk. Exactly. And Preparedness says, wow, that's crossing the line, transitioned without consent. But schools are doing it. And remember, a lot of schools have changed their rules recently to take away the parents' rights to refuse to allow the kids to go to certain classes. Come here, buddy. Come here, baby. Oh, no, don't be scared. Come here, baby. To refuse to opt them out of certain classes. They've taken the rights away, and also they're suing for the right to transition students without parental consent or knowledge, because it's a safety issue, because they may face ridicule at home. And that's what we're looking at. Aw, kitty. Hello. This is the one that sleeps on top of my head and licks my eyebrows and my forehead in the middle of the night and wakes me up. Isn't that right? Isn't that right, buddy? Mm-hmm. He has clung to me, unlike the other two kittens are really friendly, but they don't hang on me like this one does and follow me around the house and everything. And Preparedness says almost has got Bengal cat markings there. Yeah, except for the little socks. And Dragon here says, aside from suing the school districts, the board members, teachers, and councils need to be brought up on charges for child endangerment. You would think so. But with that, I'll give you one last look at little baby here. Say hello, because we're going to say goodbye. We're going to go ahead and sign out here in a moment. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Again, this is Coffee Talk. So Coffee Talk live on YouTube, or Prepper University on YouTube, and also on fistfulofradio.com podcasting service out of Atlanta. You can find me Monday through Thursday at 4 and Friday at noon. So please find me there and help support me there, so that I can, just, you don't have to do anything there, but, just turn it on so that I can hit the numbers and check out some of the other services that they have. You might find something that you like there. Prime says, cool paint job, but I'm not sure about Bengal. It's all right. I love them anyways. I love them all. That's the problem. And Doug says, bless you all. Have a great day. Don't take nothing for granted. Absolutely. So with that, we'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. And we will do this again soon.